Well, good morning, Savannah. Oh, there she goes. Good morning, Savannah. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi,
Good morning. Oh, we're so glad to
everybody.
be here with you this morning. It's another day and another time. A
Another
privilege of
day, a
our
beautiful day
DA.
in the neighborhood. Thank God. Amen. Thank God. I
Amen.
tell y'all, it was a crazy night for the DA's office last night. So if I look
Mm.
tired, trust me, I'm not hungover. We was working late. We had the
Well, I mean,
expungement clinic yesterday.
yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
let's get started with Natavia. Introduce yourself because we everybody know who Miss Shalena Jones is.
Hello.
Go ahead,
Hey,
Day,
sis,
and
how
you
you
introduce
doing?
yourself while I answer those phones ringing.
Okay. All right. So he basically telling me to go ahead and get started. So basically, we are our vulnerable communities, and we're coming together live with the District Attorney Jones. So we would want to go ahead and start with you. You say you didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so I'm taking it that's not a good thing when the DA don't sleep.
Well, you know, we get I you get sleep where you can. Doing the work though and being in the community makes it all worth it. I mean, when I said that I was running for this office, this is what I came to do, y'all. The bureaucracy and the politics and the political games, I don't care for at all. Being in the community, touching the people, working with not working with victims, working with just people who need service. One of the things that I tried to work really hard to do when I came into the office was to change the culture and the
Mm-hmm.
attitudes of people. We're not just here, we're here to serve, we're here to preserve public safety. We represent the state, meaning that we represent the citizens of this great county. And this is a customer service based business, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are here to serve and protect, like the police, but just in a different way. And you could change rules and you could change policy, but changing hearts and minds takes a long time. So I'm just glad to be able to be out in the community and doing the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to hear you speak so passionately, that's what public servants feel. I'm
Yes,
hearing a public servant right now just talking about the feel of what it feels like to serve the community and know that you're in service. I guess it's kind
yeah,
of like I've never joined the military or anything, but I've had a feel of public servant and just hearing you say that I'm like, okay, she's a public servant, you know.
yeah.
And go
When
ahead.
you do that and you get that feeling, you want to do more. So
Mm-hmm.
last night, I've been, as you both know, I've been an attorney for a long time, and I've been in this game for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
more than 20 years. So doing an expungement clinic, let me let me say, I've done expungement clinics before,
Mm-hmm.
but the power of last night's expungement clinic is that our office being there did two things. And before I go on and on, let me first thank the partners that were there. I want to thank Nancy DeVetter, um, from the DeVetter Law Firm, and her people who were out there. They do expungement clinics once a month. So Nancy and her private law firm do expungement clinics once a month. And she partners with Georgia Legal Services, right? Because and with Georgia Legal Services, and oh man, I haven't had coffee yet. Georgia Legal Services, and it's gonna come to me. She partners with them because sometimes expungements are required. There are three instances in which an expungement is required, and I'll get to that in a second. But there are a lot of instances where an expungement is possible, but you need an attorney to file a petition with the court. We can't
Mm-hmm.
represent people, right? So we can't do that. So She partners with her firm and Georgia Legal Services partners with the Deep Center, with ARCS Task Force, and with several other agencies to offer this service in the community once a month. She does it the second Monday of every month. And so I just want to say thank you to her and that team for being out last night because teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the beauty of having the DA's office join, attend, or put on an expungement clinic is that the first thing you have to attend an expungement clinic is your criminal record, your criminal history. This means that the average citizen has to go into a police department or into the sheriff's department and say, hey, can you pull my criminal history? Let me explain something. I'm the district attorney. I don't want to go into a sheriff's department and ask somebody to pull my criminal history. If I think it's something on it, it might be a warrant or something like that. And so a lot of people are not going to do that. Maybe a lot of people don't have transportation. And then it's a cost to it. Some law enforcement agencies charge $5, $10, $25, $40 to pull your criminal record. Sometimes people don't have that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're on site to run people's criminal histories for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're a law enforcement agency, we can do that. We're on site also to review the criminal histories for them to determine what kind of restriction they're eligible for. And
Mm-hmm.
then we're on site because if we find out there's something on your criminal history that shouldn't be there, we remove it on site, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a one-stop shop. We had so many people who came out. We had more than 100 people last night who got served. And I'm not talking about, you remember that debacle at the courthouse a few years ago where a whole bunch of people showed up and shut the courthouse down because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't properly planned and executed. I'm so proud of the staff from my office who came. We said we were going to be out there from 5 to 7. We left at 10:15 because we wanted to make sure that everybody who signed up got served. So everybody who pre-registered got served.
Mm-hmm.
Got advice, counsel from rooter to the tutor. And we served, the majority of people were walk-ins from last night and
Mm-hmm.
we served them too. But to hear people say, because sometimes this can be a thankless job, to hear people say, thank you. I've been trying to get this done for 5 years so I can go back to school. Or thank you. I've been trying to get this completed because I want to get a better job. And every time they pull my history, I get denied. Or, you
Mm-hmm.
know, there was a man who called his wife on the phone while he was being serviced, and he was like, baby, we got it. I did it. I can't believe it. It was a long wait. I'm not going to lie to you because it takes a long time. But to see those people happy that they got it done, I do this job 100 times over, 100 times.
And so a little bit about expungement that allows them to kind of have a clean record. What exactly is expungement?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It used to be called expungement. I still use that term because that's what everybody knows it by, right? But in recent years, they've changed the language to call it a record restriction. So there are three instances in which the state, me, has to restrict your criminal history. So if you go to trial and you're acquitted of the charges you're accused of, that means the state has to remove the charge and the arrest from your record. Um, so a lot of people think of criminal history as a piece of paper, like your credit report.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just that. When you get your record restricted, they have to remove they have to remove the record of their arrest. They got to remove your booking photo, any fingerprints, cards, all that stuff goes with it, right? So I told you about the first instance. The second instance that you automatically get a restriction is if you participate in a diversion or a program or something, and that's part of the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people finish their diversion, but they don't come back to handle
Mm-hmm.
the restriction, they get it restricted. The third mandatory instance is where you get arrested for something, but was never tried or convicted of it, right? It happens to a lot of people. A lot often, people might get arrested, get booked and fingerprinted, and either the charge isn't prosecuted because of the statute of limitations, or because the state felt like it wasn't enough evidence, or the state dismissed it, all those kinds of things. Those are mandatory restrictions. So those are a matter of cleanup, right? Because a lot of people have things on their record that don't belong to them. It's a father and son got the same name. One of them committing all the offenses, it shows up on the other people's criminal history. People get their license suspended a lot of times for things they just don't know about, right? People have court dates that they miss, realize there's a warrant pending for them. All of that is on your criminal history. So those are the three instances in which it's mandatory to do a restriction. But then the state of Georgia legislators, Georgia law, has expanded record restrictions recently to include some misdemeanors and even some felonies. So I told you about the mandatory restrictions. Those are what I call permissive restrictions, right? And those are restrictions that you usually need an attorney for to help you file a petition with the court. Now, you can do it pro se, but it's more challenging. So a restriction, getting your record restricted, means that information is removed from your criminal history and sealed, right? In the sense that more oftentimes is updated and sealed, okay? People don't realize that's two steps, right? To get something that shouldn't be on your criminal history, but you have the right to have it removed, that is restricting it. That typically means that somebody goes into the system and says, this is updated, this charge is disposed of, this person is innocent, or they remove it, right? Sealing it is like making it so nobody can see it. You see what I'm saying? The restriction is not as useful if people could still see it, right? Right. So the goal is to have
Let
it sealed.
me ask you a question right here. When you said that, we deal with a lot of people that come get jobs, come to us to get jobs, and we work a lot of government work sites, and they have an intensive background check. Are they supposed to be able to see those seal records?
No. So what people don't know is that there are different ratings for your criminal history, and it goes by the letter. So for example, an E criminal report is the type of report that is for employers and consumers, meaning if your record has been restricted and sealed, they shouldn't be able to see those things at all. A C criminal history and report is for law enforcement, police, the DA's office, judges, and people in the criminal system. They can always see everything, right? So a C is very restricted. There are a number of different other kinds as well that might be used for, just like an apartment complex, for example. They might not get an E because they might just be looking for things that would interfere with your rental history, things like that. So these letters govern the access to information that people can get. What's supposed to be happening is that when you apply for a job, they are supposed to be running an E. E criminal histories should be restricted and sealed so that they can't see the stuff that's been removed at all. Do you see?
While you teaching us, I mean, this is great information because I've always thought about it. And I think I've read something like that, but to hear you be able to say it off the top of your head, it just sounds better than when I read it and it comprehended. But it's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
So
that's exactly.
so to your point, if you go and apply for a job at Target, Target should be pulling an E, right? But if you apply for a job with a government agency, depending on how that government agency is classified and the type of criminal history report they run, they might be able to see more than Target can, right? There may be a special classification for the government sector. I could be wrong. I don't want to speak out of turn because I can't remember the exact terms right now. I believe that there is,
Mm-hmm.
but government is, for example, if you apply to a university for college, right? And you apply to Savannah State. Savannah State can pull a copy of your criminal history, right? As part of your application. And in part, it's a lot of times in order to apply, you have to give them a waiver to pull your application.
Mm-hmm.
They're a government institution and they make it a different report than what would be on an E. They
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't get a C. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if a person is applying for a government job, it stands to reason that they would get a G report or what the government can see. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well,
One of
I
the
know
Yeah.
that
things that,
anything that has federal dollars attached to it is yeah. I mean, that's how
Okay.
I'm interpreting it.
you
Well, let
raise
me
a
give you another
brilliant
example.
point, Batavia. You raise a brilliant point because most people don't know that, and that's another class. Most people don't know that your Georgia criminal history is different from your federal criminal history.
Okay,
So
we're
let
gonna take a break. I think he's trying to break us, and then we're gonna start something all over again because I think he wants to take us somewhere. So,
okay.
all right.
Have you ever experienced a Juneteenth event? Come out to Port Wentworth and celebrate our second annual Juneteenth Festival. Friday, June 21st from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. Come enjoy our music, our food, our heritage, our culture, and our history. It will be plenty of fun for everyone. Juneteenth is American history. It's a day that we celebrate and remember. It's a day that we look back, but more importantly, a day that we look forward. Join us this June.
All right, we're back. We're back. We're back. All right, Miss Jones, we like I said, I work with a lot of people getting jobs, and we put them on government jobs. But then there are some real serious and secure jobs, like working on the nuclear power plants. And
Mhm.
I think they go into a more deeper uh, background check than anybody else because they
Mhm.
want to make sure that nobody sneaks up there and do anything foolish on the job.
Mhm. That's correct. You're right. To that point, I wanted to say that both of you raised a really good point, which is a lot of people don't know that your Georgia criminal history and your federal criminal history are two different things. So you can have your Georgia criminal history is housed by um, the GCIC Center, which is the Georgia Center for the Georgia Crime Information Center. That's in Decatur, Georgia. It's um, a huge facility that manages everything you do in the state of Georgia, right? Your federal criminal history is called your NCIC, your the National Crime Information Center. That's in DC.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have committed a federal offense, right, it may or may not show up on your Georgia criminal history, right? If you pull a national criminal history report, your Georgia criminal history will show up on it because it's national, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you how this plays out in real life. Some people have drug cases that might be prosecuted by the state, whereas some people have drug cases prosecuted by the feds, right? If your case is purely federal, then it would be on your NCIC, right? Not necessarily your GCIC. Let me give you another example. Some people, especially in drug cases or in RICO cases, larger investigations like that, your criminal history can be every law enforcement agency, and I'm trying to say this without getting too technical, it's like a fingerprint. So if let's say you get arrested by SPD has its own number.
Mm-hmm.
Then you investigate, the DA's office has its own number. And but if a federal agent is involved in your investigation, an FBI agent, ATF, DEA, they all have their own fingerprints. So they're all making entries on different areas of your criminal history report, Georgia and federal. So I've had people say this Georgia case was closed and I got it. It was dismissed. They dismissed the state side and I got it restricted. But when I went to get a job, they denied me for it because they could see it. That's because they could still see it on the federal side, right? So the restriction process on the federal side is different. So people need to know, especially people who apply for government jobs, because if you're applying for a government job that requires a security clearance, then they're going to pull the federal report, right? And that could also be what's keeping people. So a lot of times people might not know what's on their criminal history, Georgia or state or federal, but a lot of times you can empower people by telling them when you go for a job interview and you give a waiver saying we're going to check his criminal history, ask the entity what kind of criminal history you want to run, right? Because it might give you some indication. Well, to ask what letter criminal history reports do y'all use, right? And that might give them some idea of, why they got a better idea of why they got rejected and what these people might be looking at. Because when they reject you, they just send you a letter telling you, no, we went in a different direction, but you might not know why.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I want to say and suggest, I hope that y'all support me, that we would create, one of my desires is to create laws that work for the criminal history and criminal reports in the same way that credit reports work. So let me try to explain. There's some things that should never be removed from your criminal history. If you are a sex offender, a child molester, a murderer, and you can something serious like that, the community should know that, right? But if you have committed a theft, a property offense, a drug offense, then there should be a mechanism for certain things. If you don't have any criminal history for 7 years, like on your credit report, it should automatically drop off the criminal history report. Don't you think doesn't that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because our criminal justice system says that people are innocent until proven guilty. And even after when we prove them guilty, then we ask them to pay their debt to society. But if the record itself is always hanging over their head for the rest of their life, they might as well be in jail for the rest of their life. Because doors and opportunities and resources are closed to them. So we create a better and different society when we make laws like that make it easier for those people who show themselves worthy to get back into common society.
Yeah, I don't. Go ahead, Alfred. I'm gonna get the subject going. I'm gonna share something because she got me thinking now. I'm working with a young man right now. He got out and he called himself re-entering society, and he went and got construction trade, I believe. but basically after he got out of that, he still can't get a job. He thought he was going to get one at a manufacturing, but that record, and he's got some serious stuff on that record going back to 17, and he's 32 now, just getting out. So I don't know what to do. I'm looking, like I said, well, I told him fast food, something. I said capital is capital, but he got skills that he just went to achieve, and he can't even work. So what was the point of them allowing him to be in that, thing, guaranteeing him getting a job when he get out, and here he is just like, what?
Yeah. Well, let's be clear. One of the things that you said is so important. These people get out, they're not fighting for corporate jobs. They're not taking real money out of people's mouth. These people are competing for low wage, hard work that nobody else want to do. And you still telling them no? I'm sorry. I love construction workers, and it's not a day that goes by in the Savannah summer where I'm thinking to myself, I'm glad I don't have to be out in that sun all day. You know what I mean? But the way our market is like, if an employer has a choice between somebody who has no criminal history and somebody who has any criminal history, they're going to choose the person with no criminal history every time. And so a lot of people don't realize that 4 million Georgians are affected by their criminal history. And let me tell you something. I read a lot of comments that people make about me and my policies, and they say, oh, she let people out of jail. She let people off for everything. I think it's so ignorant and it's dumb. I wouldn't be a prosecutor if I wanted to let everybody off for everything. I'm just smart enough to know what to prosecute people for and who needs to be behind bars forever and limited forever and who doesn't. Let me explain the ignorance behind a statement like that. People don't realize, dumb people like that don't realize that when you make it harder for a person to get a job, you're actually making society worse because you're making it more likely that that person will go back to crime. It's dumb. So people like to say, be tough on crime. You want to ask me? I think all tough on crime prosecutors are ignorant, closed-minded, and stupid and uneducated, because all of the social science and the data says that you complaining about the tax base, but you keeping people from making a meaningful ways to contribute to the tax base. Are you dumb? Why would you do that? If we want our society to have less crime, everybody knows it's common sense that positive access to jobs and employment and positive alternatives is a healthy alternative for crime, means that crime goes down. But our society is not interested in that. We want to lock people up and throw away the key, not realizing that as a society, we pay for that in many ways. You bank it so people can't work. People who want to work can't work, and then you cry about the fact that you can't find workers.
Jerome, I didn't mean to take over the show. I will pass it back to Jerome. He might have some questions, so I'm sorry, but this is good.
This conversation,
you got me in nerd mode. Like I'm just taking it all in. Like
I'm grateful. I'm so grateful to y'all because these are the conversations we don't ever get to have. Mm-hmm. People might see me on the news about something, and in 30 seconds they be like, "Oh, I like her," or "I don't." But if you're not like us, like me and Unitavia, you study this criminal justice system and sociology and economics, and you know it. This is my passion. I do this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when I'm out here, I'm trying to make changes or I'm trying to do stuff. It's not because I'm a politician. It's because I studied this system and I just believe I have a better idea for how to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
We want to tell everybody this is the vulnerable community, and you're hearing it. What you need to hear this morning. It's a discussion that is rarely had, where we can get the understanding of what's really going on. Mm-hmm. I have a couple of good, serious questions for the DA this morning. She spoke in an earlier interview with us about the backlog that she inherited. And right now, with that backlog that you inherited, about what percent of that backlog do you think that is left? Or have you gotten rid of that backlog?
Your opinion. Let me just say, to speak. So when I came in, I studied and counted, and I did myself, me, the DA, not somebody in my office, based on the best data I had. I identified that we had 28,507 cases that were in the backlog, right? As of today, that's down to, it's been a while since I got that number, but the last time I checked, which was about 3 months ago, it was around 15,000, that number, okay? So let me define backlog, because backlog is important, right? How you define it is important. So when I gave you that number of 28,000, that means every case that was on a docket or pending at the time the courts closed, plus all of the cases that came, the courts closed March of 2020, and they reopened in October of 2021. So that's all the cases that came in that year and a half, right?
Okay.
Right? And then I subtracted all the cases we were able to resolve during that period. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's how we got to that number of 28,000. That number, so just to give some people a general idea, yes, the courts were closed, but people were still getting arrested and charged during that year and a half. That added, and because we were not able to move the cases that were pending or the cases that came in, it created a very large number. So that number is now down to 15,000 or less. But let's be clear. I want to be clear about one thing. The wheels of justice have always turned very slowly. When I took office in January of 2021, they were still prosecuting cases that had been charged in 2014 and 15. That's
Right.
The system was slow before COVID. COVID just made it all worse. So that's another difference. That's the answer to your question. We got about more than halfway through that 28,000. And that's in addition to handling all the cases that have come in during COVID and since. The system don't ever stop. It don't slow down. So when people ask me, people said, another criticism people make is, oh, you came into office in January 2021 and you disappeared. We didn't see you. I was working. Do you know how hard it was to get through that backlog? Like, I felt like at the time I couldn't be everywhere. And I'm the type of leader that works with my staff. I was in court. In court myself. I tried cases. Me, the DA. That never happens. Meg didn't do it. Larry didn't do it. Spencer didn't do it. I was in recorder's court and superior court. I assigned myself to judges. Why? Because that's what a leader does. So you didn't see me because I was in court. No other sitting DA does that. They send their staff in the court. I was in court, working and being a DA.
You answered a question that I had, because I was going to ask you, what courts do you have jurisdiction in? And you answered that because you said recorder's court and all those. But
Right.
we also we hear talk all the time, and I said hear talk about rape cases and molestation cases and how long it takes to bring them to court. What's your time? I can't say timeline because I know there's so many different aspects to bringing a case to court. But literally, about how long does it take to get a case like that to court?
Too long. Not just in my office, but everywhere. Too long. Period. Too long. And so let me say this. When I inherited that office, I sat down and I did the count. There were a great many number of rape cases that were between 3 and 9 years old. that had not been touched between
Wow.
3 and 9 years old. When by the time I had been there, yeah, when I got in there, they were between 3 and 9 years old. That broke my heart because I was a special victims prosecutor. So to say what the average should be, I don't know how to answer that question. It's just the idea of getting it down from what it is, right?
Right.
And so that's why I've been trying to say, when we talk about using our resources to pay attention to the cases that mean the most, rape, not just the murders, kidnappings, armed robberies, and all of those, but rapes and domestic violence and child molestation. We need to find a different way to get rid of all those other cases so we can just focus on those and get to them faster. Because so on average, if you ask me today, a rape case, in my opinion, what it should take is 1 year from arrest to trial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right now, it's taking 4. I sat down and met with a victim in a rape case from 2019.
Well, we're gonna get ready and take another break so we can digest that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever experienced a Juneteenth event? Come out to Port Wentworth and celebrate our 2nd annual Juneteenth Festival. Friday, June 21st from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. Come enjoy our music, our food, our heritage, our culture, and our history. It will be plenty of fun for everyone. Juneteenth is American history. It's a day that we celebrate and remember. It's a day that we look back, but more importantly, a day that we look forward. Join us this June.
Oh, we're right back again.
Yeah.
But one of my other questions that I have is the fact that a lot of times we used to hear about the jailhouse being overcrowded. When the jailhouse get into that situation where it's overcrowded, how does the DA office handle that situation?
I heard the question. I'm thinking it's a great question. I wasn't expecting that. I'm thinking. I have a few thoughts. Let me say this. The jail is not overcrowded. And to the extent it does get overcrowded, they just gonna build another wing to the jail. Our jail has bed space for a reason. And it's because I'm trying to be real careful. Now, because people build jails to fill them. It's big business.
So you know what? I want to reframe this, and this is how I took it before you do that, because you're going in depth. But first of all, is there a collaboration between the DA and the sheriff office? Let's start there. What that look like, or if it's not there, what should it look like?
There is a collaboration there's a coexisting worker relationship between the DA's office and the sheriff's department. But more specifically, I have a good relationship with Sheriff Wilcher, and he has a good relationship with me. Okay. Let me tell you what that looks like. He is very progressive in terms of, if he has an inmate that has mental health issues and is a danger to themselves, other inmates or the staff, he will call me, and we really try to press those issues now. Or for example, if somebody, we just have a good working relationship. let me go back and say this out loud because this is what I'm struggling with and it's holding up my brain. Once the DA actually files an indictment or an accusation, I don't have any control over when a case gets to trial, how long the inmate is in there. I the I don't decide that. People think that I do. The judges and their case managers and their clerks decide which cases go to trial and when. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So people think that, oh, it's the DA that's holding the case up. It's not. I can't go to a judge and say, do this, do that. This is when you should call what case. They make their own calendars. A lot of times I don't even agree with their calendars, but I have to show up because I'm the state. Okay.
Right.
The
So
sheriff can't move.
there's no they say that the biggest problem is the staffing shortage in the jails. That's why it seems like it's overcrowded or understaffed, whichever way you want to say. Is there anything the DA office can help with that?
No. No.
Because y'all filled with attorneys, right? Like y'all not filled with the DA makes up it's attorneys and stuff, right? Like, or not?
Yeah, but what makes you think we control the jail?
No, a collaboration is basically the jail seems like it always needs some kind of extra support. And everybody always talk about the collaboration of all the criminal justice institutions and just trying to figure out what role the DA could play more, if there was a more that the DA could play with a partnership with the sheriff department.
People always want the DA to do more, boy, and they blame the DA for a lot of things. So Johnny Wilcher houses inmates, right? That's all he does. He don't determine when they come up, when they go. He gets an order that says send this inmate here or this, there, that, and the other. The DA has charged the case, right? What controls the pace of people in the jail is the judges and how they move their cases. Because the way we do our work is we prepare cases according to which case we know the court is going to call. Right now, for example, the judges are setting their cases. Their calendars are so full that judges are setting trial dates into late 2025. Right? Now, let me answer your question another way. Thank you for teeing it up for me because I just had a thought.
Okay.
The way the DA could get rid of cases is if I had the freedom and the latitude to just dismiss certain cases, right? Or if I say, so I said, for example, I'm not prosecuting any possession of marijuana cases and the world went crazy. She's not prosecuting drug cases. Well, yeah, I am. But
so what is that a power? Is that something that could happen if the people, what is that power? What is the name of that power that
you are so brilliant? You ask great questions. The name of that power is called prosecutorial discretion, Natavia. It's called prosecutorial discretion. Forever and ever, the state constitution gives DAs as the top law enforcement officer the power to say, if a DA wanted to say, I'm not going to prosecute any theft by shoplifting cases, throw them all away. For example, I have 8,000 cases in my office right now that are traffic cases. I could dismiss all those cases and give everybody a warning. You know what would happen? They would be in such an uproar. Why? Because that means somebody's not getting money. I'm not collecting fines and fees, and it would set the world on fire.
But
right?
Look, that would be more impactful than student loan debt, to be honest. I'm not kidding you.
Dismissing, and the other thing is that we have to make a decision, y'all. We got people charged with prostitution and theft by shoplifting, small petty theft. Here's what happened. Let me tell you what will revolutionize the justice system, right? They're not ready, Natavia. Take everybody who has a drug possession case and put them in treatment. That will reduce everything by half, 50%. That I'm telling you what the case numbers look like. Possession, when you have repeat.
And are they violent possessions or non-violent?
No. If they were, let's be clear. Everything that's violent, I'm not talking about. Okay? Because anything that's violent and involves violence of any type, you're not getting a pass from me.
So
Period.
possession, people don't be having the guns and stuff like that going on. I'm playing devil's advocate right now. I ain't that dumb, but I'm just gonna be, some
No,
people agreeing to it
that's
because
no, I'm talking about the vast majority of possession cases where maybe you get pulled over for a traffic offense and then somebody found, and then the police officer found a user amount of cocaine on you. You're going to get arrested for possession of cocaine, and it's a control one, and a control one drug. I'm talking about a classic possession case. The vast majority, I would say, almost 37% of our criminal justice system has those kinds of cases in it, right? But those are users. Users don't get treated by jail, and they don't get treated by probation, even when you send them to a drug treatment program, right? They are going to keep using because jail and criminal history is not the way to treat personal use of drugs, marijuana, cocaine, whatever. Now, I do take an exception for fentanyl because fentanyl is deadly. Fentanyl, if you touch it, if you smell it, you can die. That's how they mix in fentanyl and heroin and cocaine. Fentanyl is a danger to our community because there have been officers who investigated. We have a case here in Chatham County where a grandparent died because her adult son was using fentanyl, and he got arrested and so she went into his room to clean up his room and dropped dead because there was fentanyl in there. That's how dangerous fentanyl is.
What does it? I mean, can you tell me what it looked like? How do you know? I mean, because I did not.
It doesn't have an odor. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna bring Sarhat, Director Sarhat, on here. You ever seen a packet of Splenda? It might be like this big, the packet of Splenda or Sweet and Low. This right here, if you pour it out and you put 10 crystals in your hand, that's enough to kill somebody.
Oh
wow! Wow!
They cut it into heroin. And so it's airborne also.
Some people want to know about your campaign, if they can volunteer, if they can donate. So we want to make sure we give you that part as well to be able to let people know how they can keep up with you or how they can support you in whatever way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm going to cover my DA pin for a second because I try to keep my campaign and my DA work and conversation separate. So if you want to find out more about me as a candidate, you can go to www.voteshalenajones.com.
Okay.
Now I'm back.
Okay. All right.
I'm back.
I like that.
Now this work is fascinating. If y'all wanted me to, I will put you in touch with Director Sarhat because he loves to talk about this stuff. And that's why this stuff is important. Like, to me, fentanyl is a threat to public safety. Period. And it scares me because they cutting it into all these drugs. And when our kids get that kind of stuff, it's becoming one of the leading causes of death for drug users because it's so accessible and it's so mutable, meaning you can put it in so many things.
If people know that it's so deadly, I just don't get it because I was having a conversation with a man that lungs is affected by, he said he was doing some wet or something, and he was mad at me for being so green because I didn't know what wet was. He explained everything to me when we were done with the conversation, and I asked him, I said, well, if you knew it was messing people up and why you do it? I don't get, like, why is this stuff that they know is deadly, study traveling? Like, it just seemed like common sense will kick in.
No, it's not common sense anymore. What happened when crack first got started? I had a class, and I was asking the teenagers in the class about using crack. Of all people, my own child answered the question for me. And I was shocked and he said, no, I don't do it. But this is why they do it. They want to be the one to beat the system. I said, that's dumb. You know it's killing people, but you want to be the one to survive and say you did it. don't make sense. A lot of people are still chasing the high for the drugs that the first.
So
the
it
first
becomes
time they took
competition.
they
It becomes
chase
competition.
they chase the high off it. They're trying to get that first high. Yeah, and they
Let
can't get it.
let me jump in and say this right here. Drug problems will always exist because drugs are easier to get and cheaper than decent medical care and therapy. It's harder for people to get a therapist to figure out their problems than it is for them to get drugs. And so a lot of people at the end of the day, addicts are not bad people. We all know addicts in our family. A lot of times people use drugs to self-medicate. Young kids do it to escape. This is a very hard life, and if you're not built for it, a lot of times people turn to drugs and it's easy. But going back to the issue of fentanyl, like Jerome said, nobody comes, the distributors don't come to you and tell you this is fentanyl and it can kill you. That nobody sells pure fentanyl because fentanyl is mixed in other things. It's mixed in heroin, it's mixed in crack, it's mixed in, it can be sprayed on weed. And so that what happens is it becomes a competition between drug distributors because if their consumers are using this drug and it's powerful, and so their consumers are coming back to them. Their consumers go back to them because their drugs are strong. They don't know why, because the distributor don't tell them it has fentanyl in it. But the problem is that if a distributor doesn't cut that ratio right, you're gonna overdose and you're gonna die, right? Nobody is telling them that when they're buying it. And this is why we gotta tell our kids, stop smoking that gas, stop snorting that powder, because you don't know what's in it. Unless you made it yourself, which I highly doubt, stop doing that. Because they always cutting stuff into what drugs you are taking. You know what I'm saying? And you thinking you just going out on Friday to have a good time, you could be dead. That could be your last good time. And our people
So
don't.
they like lacing stuff like how they used the
Right.
crack and the weed back in the day. So it'll be a lace to it, like
Right. And no drug is immune, because, and Starhat will tell you, this is why I want you to talk to him and please bring him on the show. We could come on the show together so he can say these things. And it's getting pushed to our kids because our kids have what they call pill parties or Skittle parties, where they put the drugs in a bowl. And what happens is the distributors they turn this drug into a powder and then they press it into a pill, right? You don't know what's in that pill. And so they mix it and cut it in with all kind of stuff. And so you can't say, well, I'm safe because I just smoke weed. I'm safe because I just do pills. I'm safe because I just do powder. They put this stuff in everything.
So this guy you suggest, because I would like to have a show, because it's teaching me and it'll help us be able to help them, because if we don't know, they don't know either. And that's why it's rolling like it's rolling, because I'm dumb to it.
Well, the thing is, he does a great job getting out into the community, but he goes a lot to the schools and stuff like that. But when I did the training on it, y'all, and watched an officer die from doing an investigation, opened up the car door, looked in the car, and somebody had left drugs with fentanyl in it in the car, and he just started seizing and fell out. And everybody's like, what happened? Is he having a seizure? There was fentanyl in the car. And it's a danger to law enforcement. That stuff is deadly. And I'm good at prosecuting it, but I can't explain the science to you. That's why you have to talk to Director Starhat. He has to talk to our communities. This message has to get to our kids, because unless it came from a doctor or unless you made it yourself, do not put it in your body, period.
All right. Well, we have been enlightened this morning. We had education that was needed a long time ago. This isn't something that just started, but we needed this education a long time ago. We want to thank our DA for being with us this morning. I thought we were going to have to wing this show this morning. I was so glad when I looked up.
I'll never do that to you. I never do. But you know what was funny? I was like, well, I hadn't planned anything to talk about, but y'all make me realize, like, this is the work. Sharing information with people. This is my passion, and I could talk about this all day long. But the next time we talk, I'm definitely going to reach out to Director Sarhat and have him come on to talk about the dangers of fentanyl in our community, y'all, right here.
Well,
And
if you
it's
could get him in
gonna be
contact
a
with me, we'll give him a whole show. If he's going to talk about that, we'll give him a
Yes,
whole
he will. Yes, he will. I'm gonna make him. Sarhat, if you hear this, this is the DA calling you out. You got a podcast to be present for. We need some information. So you know I'll call folks to the carpet real quick. If I said it once, I'll say it again. Period. So I
Yeah,
love
he
y'all
won't
so
have
much.
a problem. He worked for the public, correct?
Yeah, he's a good guy. He'll do it. But I really enjoy y'all. I can't tell you how much. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to have these conversations and get information to our communities. I'll be here whenever you have me. I'll do my best effort to come. And if you ever have questions from me, you know where to find me.
Well, we sure appreciate you. We appreciate you to the highest. Sister Natavia.
Yes, sir.
What are we going to do next week?
I don't know what we're going to do next week. I just kind of follow you. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I know what we're going to do next week. Well,
I think we have a special meeting.
We're going to do Cornell West platform next week to talk about some of the possibilities of that platform and seeing if Biden can implement some of that into his platform. That's what we're going to bring RG Bryant on to do it with us. So that's what we're going to dedicate next week to, since you asked.
Well, we may I think we got a special meeting next week too. But we will be back with you one way or the other. We will be here next Tuesday. If we have to tape the show, we will be here. Everyone, we have had a blessed day today. You see the line run across re-elect Shalena Cook Jones for district attorney. It's well qualified, well informed. So we're gonna ask you to do what you do best. Go out this week and vote, because this is the runoff week. If you live in the 8th district, we ask you to go out and vote and do what you're supposed to do. Do your job. Go to the polls and vote. With that being said, we're going to see each and every one of you next week, next Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Until then, everybody be blessed. This is the Vulnerable Community, our Black media. Goodbye now.
Like this.